do you feel like God is specific about, like, Ben, I want you to work at Anderson University and be the admin director, or is it more open? Like, I've gifted you
Yeah,
with
it's
these
good.
gifts, and you can kind of freely choose. I mean, I'm sure there's times when, like, I need you to be at this job for this specific reason because you need to meet this specific person, and there's things like that. I'm
Yeah.
sure that happen. But do you feel like God's given us some freedom, and as far as like you've got this gift, kind of use it however, because it may change from, you may not be in the same job all your life. And so
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think I think God trusts us with that stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
so I don't think there's like one single, Ben was supposed to be the pastor at Grace Marietta Church in Marietta, Georgia, and anywhere else would be unfaithful.
Yeah.
I think there's like
Yeah.
so many different opportunities that God deposits in us. He entrusts us. It's really like similar to what God teaches us about money and stewardship, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's a stewarding of my gifts and my abilities and
Yes.
my skills and those kinds of things. And we teach people a lot that, like, sometimes your occupation is your ministry, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm lucky I'm a pastor
Yeah.
where my vocation, my occupation is my ministry. Sometimes your occupation pays for your ministry,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
so sometimes, like, my 9 to 5 is not necessarily like my kingdom dream. It's not the
Mm-hmm.
kingdom assignment that I have, but it funds the kingdom assignment. And so it gives
Yeah.
me 5 hours on the weekend where I can go to the homeless shelter and serve, or
Mm.
it gives me funding where I can fund refugees from the Ukraine or
Yeah.
missionaries in the Muslim world or all of those kinds of things. And so I think God gives us the opportunity to steward the
Yeah.
pieces that he's given us, and
Yeah.
allows us to kind of choose and where we go and what we do with it,
Yeah.
which is really a beautiful kind of thing.
Yeah. Wow. That's so good. How do you feel like with folks finding out? I get emails, so people are saying that, I don't even know what God's called me to do. How would you walk somebody through saying, I've got some things on my heart, but don't even know how to do it, or maybe they're not even exactly sure where they're gifted.
Yeah.
How do you unpack that for folks?
That's one of my favorite things to do. So that's
Okay.
the first part of our accelerator incubators.
Mm-hmm.
Is we have a 4-part process,
Yeah.
and it's discover, design, develop, and deploy is the
If you want to
four-part
walk through that,
process.
let's do it, because I think this is going to help out a bunch of
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. So, like, discovery is the first part of it. And there are a lot of people that jump into our accelerator incubator and they're like, man, I just want to get to my business. I just want to launch the thing. I just want to go. And we have to slow everybody down and say, like, the worst thing that you could do is solve a problem that nobody's having, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or create something that you're not passionate about and willing to
Yeah.
persevere for, and something where you don't have a deep love and compassion and empathy for your customer or client.
Uh-huh.
Like, you've got to create something that inside of you is stirring and exciting. And so we walk through a discovery process. We're actually doing one next week.
Okay.
We've got an amazing entrepreneur here in Atlanta that gives us his place on a lake.
Nice.
He's got the boats and the jet skis and all of that stuff that we pull out, which might be a little cold in October, but we're going to pull them out anyway.
We're going to do it anyway.
And we hang out and we just kind of spend a few days kind of looking at what's your unique calling. We look at the passion. So what's the passion that God has deposited in you? We look at the person. What are the gifts you have? So we do a lot of gift assessments. Some of those are things like Enneagram that Christian folks are familiar with. Some of them is just like Myers-Briggs, DISC. We want to just get a real clear picture of who you are, of what you're passionate about. And then the last circle is the problem. What's the problem that you were placed here to solve? And out of that, we try and develop kind of, what's your 2 words? So when I went through this process, my 2 words was awaken dreams. I think that's what I'm placed here to do. And I think that's when I make my best contribution to the world, or what we would call as like a kingdom contribution, is when I'm helping other people like awaken the thing that's inside of you, that there is something that's been deposited in you. We talk about it as like an excavation process, right? It's already there. And so we're excavating what God has already deposited in you to help you find clarity around that. So we do that discovery side, then we move to a design phase. And in the design phase, we really ask everybody, we just want you to do two things. We want you to build a prototype, and we want you to talk to clients and customers. So talk to users and build a prototype of some sort. And so we've got everything from nonprofits, like coaching ministries, people that are building like a framework for a coaching, an 8-week session or a video, series or those kinds of things, to I'm launching a coffee shop, those kinds of things. But you're kind of building out a prototype, talking to users. We do what we call an ideation and design lab, where we take people through a process of what's your value proposition. It's kind of like building your business model canvas at that time. You're kind of filling in the blanks of those spaces and starting it kind of as a rough draft. What we do as a team is we kind of grade everybody coming out of that. So you get a red light, a yellow light, or a green light in every one of the indicators around your business. And then that gives us a framework on, okay, we really need to work with this person on their story, or we really need to work with them on their value proposition or their execution, or whatever that thing is. We kind of highlight that. And then we move into a development phase, where we try and raise some funds. And so we help you kind of raise some funds. Our commitment is everything that you pay to be a part of our program, we're going to help you earn back by the time that you're done with the program. Awesome. So we help some people kind of raise the funds to launch their kingdom dream. And then also, like, how do I get my first 5 customers or my first 5 clients? Or how do I get, if it's a church thing, my first 5 congregants? Like, how do we gather the first fruits of this group and start putting that together? And then lastly, we do a big demo day at the end, which is our deployment phase, where we teach people to pitch. We have a generosity network and an investing network, and we have them pitch in front of a group. So November 20th in Atlanta, we've got 10 people coming in from our last our spring incubator, who are going to kind of launch and pitch in front of the group and try and raise some funds and get good at telling their stories. And then we kind of release you into the wild to go do your thing. But
that's awesome.
It's such a fun process, man. It's my favorite thing I've ever done. I'm so in love with it right now.